The Surge 2 will feel very familiar to fans of the first game. While it maintains a lot of the same features, it also introduces new mechanics, including some that bring it closer to its Souls-like roots. Combat is more fleshed out than ever, which makes it a real joy to play. You have all of the old weapon types and movesets from the first game, but they've also added new ones too, which all feel unique and equally viable. There's really something for all playstyles here. I was also very happy to see that they got rid of the old weapon proficiency system, so now you can switch weapon types throughout your playthrough without feeling like you just became weaker. You can experiment and switch on the fly depending on your needs or mood. My favorite feature from the first game is back, and that is the severing of limbs. In combat, you can select which limb to target on an enemy. If it's armored, you can chop it off to unlock the schematic for that piece of armor, so that you can craft it for yourself later on. The same is done for weapons if an enemy is carrying one. If you've already collected that piece of equipment, you'll instead earn crafting materials by chopping it off. This system really makes fighting enemies with new weapons exciting. I personally loved collecting gear this way. Enemies in this game force you to adapt more than they did in the first one, and the game gives you new moves and tools to deal with them. Some of your foes might carry shields, which you can destroy with a charged attack. Enemies will also become enraged at times, which makes it harder to stagger them. You also have a drone at your disposal. Shooting with it consumes ammo, although you can also use ammo-less modules like a magnetic one that pulls enemies towards the drone. Blocking has had a great overhaul in this game. Now when you hold the block button, you can also choose a specific direction, which will allow you to prevent damage from an incoming attack. If you do it at the right time, you can parry your enemies and leave them open for an attack. It's so satisfying to perfect and makes blocking feel as useful as dodging. You can install implants to change up how you perform in combat. Some are passive while others are active. The way you use active implants in this game is by charging up your energy bar by attacking enemies. Once you've filled up individual batteries on your meter, you can press the implant button to, for example, heal yourself. You can heal indefinitely as long as you've got energy, unlike the basic healing implant in the previous game. I found that this made healing a lot more interesting than in most Souls games, because instead of relying on a certain number of charges before having to return back to base, you can instead explore infinitely as long as you're good enough to land those hits and heal yourself up with charged energy. To help you out, you can hold the implant button to store a charge of battery so that your implant is ready to use when you don't have energy in the future. It might all sound a little bit complex, but you get used to it quickly and it's a lot of fun to play around with. Gameplay has a few online aspects to it now. Similarly to the Dark Souls games, you can now tag the floor or walls with icons and try to illustrate a message through that to either warn or deceive other players. So let's talk a bit about the story. It takes place 2 months after the first game and has you play as a brand new character, a nameless and voiceless one that you customize the look of. Unfortunately, because of that, they're not as interesting as Warren was in the first game. As for the setting, although it's different, there's a lot of nods towards the first game that fans will appreciate. Unfortunately, I didn't think the environments here were as interesting as the eerie facility from the first game. Here you'll find yourself exploring more urban looking areas, and I thought they were mostly pretty dull. Aesthetically at least, because the layouts were still great to explore. Finding new shortcuts and hidden items still evokes a rewarding feeling. There's a lot more human interaction here, and a lot of the story is a lot more forthcoming than it was in the first Surge. You'll of course also find extra lore through audio logs and some visions. To conclude, I think this game is more or less more of the same. The combat has improved, and now feels a lot more interesting and versatile. While I feel the setting, atmosphere, and storytelling felt a bit underwhelming compared to the first game. I still found them interesting, just not as gripping as the first Surge. In the end though, I recommend the game to fans of the first game, and Souls-like fans that are looking for an overall enjoyable experience in the genre. If you want to pick up the game and support my channel at the same time, there is a referral link in the description where you can buy the game from Humble Bundle. And if you thought the video was useful, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.